Daniel was a determined boy, fueled by a sense of responsibility, not just to himself but to those around him. Though his finances were thin like the paper he delivered, he held rich values that guided his heart. Kindness flowed easily from him, like sunlight breaking through a cloudy sky. In the moments of silence between the dull crunch of snow beneath his feet, he often wondered what he could do to make a difference. Being greeted by Mrs. Henderson's frail, aging smile was comforting. She reminded him of how the world could flourish in small acts. She had been a widow for years, aging within the walls of her cozy home. An island amidst the winter white, with her loyal potted plants lined up like green soldiers on her windowsill, waiting for their owner's gentle touch to nurture them. As he approached her walk, he couldn't help but notice the thick layer of snow that pirouetted over her carefully tended garden, stifling the leaves that yearned for sunshine. Today was no different from the past 2 winters. He was determined to clear her sidewalk, a task he had taken on with the resolve of a seasoned volunteer. It wasn't just an obligation, it filled him with purpose. Each swipe of the shovel, each effort to meticulously clear the path, felt like he was preserving the happiness within those 4 walls. For Daniel, the moment he finished was rewarding, and although nobody ever formally acknowledged his good deed, he saw with satisfaction that Mrs. Henderson often made an extra effort to wave from her window. With a heavy wooden shovel that had seen better days, he began the task at hand. Each lift and toss of the cold, heavy snow set his teeth chattering, the cold seeping through his gloves, chilling his fingers. Yet, he carried on, feeling the crunch of the snow beneath his boots. Deep down, he was reminded of Mrs. Henderson's words from last winter: every little act of kindness is a seed planted in someone's heart. A gust of wind swept through, momentarily distracting him as he turned to look at the old woman peering from her window. Her eyes sparkled with gratitude, a warmth that managed to chase away his exhaustion. "You're a good boy, Daniel," she called out, her voice breaking sweetly through the morning air. The comment made his heart swell. It provided him with a warmth he craved more than the woolen coat that sat 2 sizes too big. He continued shoveling with renewed energy, envisioning the way she would invite him in for hot chocolate once the walk was cleared, a ritual he had grown fond of. Just imagining her smile as she handed him the steaming cup, letting the sweet aroma swirl around him, filled him with hope, a tiny getaway from the struggles that were piling up like the snow around him. Completing the job took an hour, and as he stepped back to admire his work, an unblemished path leading right to her door, he didn't think about how cold his fingers were, or how he would need to walk back home to share a dinner of plain rice and beans. No. All he felt was pride, a gentle thrum of fulfillment. His heart fluttered in his chest as he lifted his shovel, preparing to knock on her door for his well-deserved cocoa. But before he could do that, Mrs. Henderson emerged, wrapped in layers of knit hats and blankets. "Oh, Daniel, you are pure sunshine on a snowy day," she called out, her laughter trailing behind her like the dragon's breath that hung in the air. "You're my favorite neighbor," he quipped back, basking in the warmth of her praise. "You know that, right?" "Yes, dear, I do. And I have something for you." She reached into her pocket and revealed a small, faded leather wallet. For a moment, Daniel's breath caught in his throat. Despite her age and limited means, Mrs. Henderson had always found ways to surprise him. A deep laugh erupted from her as she handed it to him. "You've earned this, my boy. A little something to keep you warm inside." His heart raced as he opened the small wallet to find a few clean, crisp bills. It wasn't much, but it was the thought that swirled around him like the cozy scent of cocoa she always brewed. He couldn't shake off the feeling that this simple gift reflected an entire universe of kindness, connection, and a promise of change. With the wallet wedged in his palm, Daniel looked up to meet her gaze and saw something beyond gratitude. It felt like destiny wrapping itself around him, whispering that every act of kindness would eventually spiral into something unimaginable, just waiting to unfold. Daniel stood outside Mrs. Henderson's house, clutching the leather wallet in his hand, feeling the weight of her gift settle on his heart. Each crisp bill felt like a promise, a glimmer of hope that radiated warmth amidst the snowy landscape, calling him to dream larger than his meager paperboy earnings could ever promise. The unexpected windfall reminded him of the way his mother often spoke of sacred energy, the kind that sparked in the heart of one and radiated outward through acts of goodness until it found its way back. "Thank you, Mrs. Henderson," he exclaimed, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "I didn't do it for a reward." "Oh, Daniel, every kindness deserves recognition," she replied, her eyes twinkling as if they held secrets that danced just beyond his reach. "You make such a difference in this neighborhood. You have no idea how much the little things matter." The young boy felt a rush of emotion. He had been tiptoeing around the edges of his own aspirations and fears, careful not to overstep the boundaries of his youthful existence. However, the cash in his hands felt like an invitation to step firmly into a future he had long wished to cultivate. The wallet became a symbol not only of encouragement but of expectation, sparking the kind of hope that danced on the edges of his mind. He thought of the old shed at the back of his family's property where his father used to store lumber, now long forgotten in the clutter of growing weeds and weather-stained boards. It was a structure that had seen better days, much like the rest of their home. What if he could shove it aside and turn that little parcel of land into a genuine business opportunity? An ice cream stand or a fresh lemonade cart for the summer, innovation wrapped around kindness, cycle after cycle. "Do you ever think about how we might bring the community closer together?" Daniel's voice interrupted his thoughts. "Of course. What do you have in mind, dear?" Mrs. Henderson leaned closer, her frailty softened by keen interest. "I've been toying with the idea of starting a little business. Perhaps something themed around different seasons could draw people in. We could sell ice cream in the summer, a hot cocoa bar in winter." Her laughter mingled with the crisp air, lightening his heart. "You know, that sounds marvelous. Ice cream, hot cocoa, oh my. Let's not forget the fall pumpkin spice lattes, you'd be a hit." "Right, but, I'd need a little capital to get it all started, like supplies and maybe a cart," he stammered, realizing with a touch of panic how daunting the logistics were. "I believe you have more than enough to begin, my dear boy," she said, gently patting his hand with the strength that belied her frame. "Use those bills. Invest in yourself. You will create a wave that ripples through this neighborhood, of taste and warmth and gatherings." Overwhelmed yet inspired, Daniel returned home with a whirlwind of thoughts swirling around him. He couldn't shake the excitement gripping his soul, an infusion of ambition that danced in tandem with the responsibilities of his daily life. At some point he would have to break the news to his widowed mother, who worked tirelessly to pay the bills. He feared she might dismiss his dreams, doubting whether their precarious financial situation allowed for risk. Sometimes he wondered if she was just too tired to dream. As the week flowed by, he poured himself into preparations for his so-called project. The harsh winter weather continued to blanket Maplewood in white, but that didn't stop him from sketching plans on scrap pieces of paper. Each evening, after school and his regular paper route, he ran to that rickety shed and envisioned transforming it into the heart of his dream. Before long, the simple urge for ice cream morphed into a community gathering space where strangers would gather, laughter filling the air like music, and children's small voices would echo through his little corner of the world. Daniel often saw Mrs. Henderson standing in her window, watching him with unyielding encouragement, heat flourishing between them as he would wave back at her. Her belief in him breathed hope into his every plan, a reminder that the financial blessing from her wallet wasn't just money, it was an affirmation of possibility. Finally, after days of preparation and meetings with local vendors and the proprietor of a local ice cream shop, who agreed to mentor him, Daniel decided to confide in his mother. The uncertainty loomed like an ominous cloud as he gathered courage during one particularly bleak evening. "Mom," he began, his voice slightly shaking at the dinner table, where they sat across from one another, sharing their usual sparsely filled plates of bland rice and beans. "I want to start my own little business." His mother paused, eyebrows raised but lips pursed in thought. "Honey, our finances are tight. I don't want you to get hurt." "I know," he whispered, "but I trust that I can make this work." There's this empty part of the yard where I could set up for spring. And I truly believe it can bring joy to the community. I've saved some money." He hesitated as he hesitated to mention Mrs. Henderson's gift, fearing it would sting more than help. Instead, he pressed on, and Mr. Jenkins from the ice cream shop said he'd help. His mother's expression shifted from skepticism to something deeper contemplation, perhaps a glimmer of pride wedged in with her protection. "If this is really what you want," she said finally, "then we'll find a way to support you. Just be careful." Overwhelmed by relief and determination, he began looking into permits and orders for ingredients. His heart beat steady against the encroaching pressure as if to say, "Here we go." Days turned to weeks, and the first signs of spring began to dance around Maplewood, beckoning residents outside from their long confinement. The day finally arrived for his first sale. With help from friends, he had constructed a simple yet inviting stall on the patch of land where the old shed had stood. Colorful tablecloths adorned the table, while large tubs of ice cream awaited eager customers, their scents of creamy vanilla and rich chocolate wafting enticingly through the air. As the morning sunlight spilled over the horizon, illuminating the neighborhood that had once seemed stagnant under heavy snow, a small crowd began to gather. "Okay folks, welcome to Daniel's Dream Creamery," he declared nervously, hoping to engage the mixed audience brimming with hope and curiosity. There were neighbors lining up, old and young, and a few familiar faces from his paper route. Mrs. Henderson stood at the front, waving her hands excitedly. His heart raced throughout the chaos, drawing strength from the hints of laughter and the excited chatter surrounding him. As he scooped the ice cream and piled it high on cone after cone, an unexpected family arrived, a pair of twins, eyes bright with wonder, who pointed excitedly at the vibrant options laid out before them. "Can I have 2 scoops?" one of the twins asked, her pigtails bouncing as she danced on the tips of her toes. The magic of the scene unfurling before him filled him with disbelief and gratitude. "Of course. 1 green and 1 pink." "Yeah, please." With every scoop, order, and smile, Daniel discovered something transformative within himself. The sweetness of connection, laughter shared over melty cones, claimed a personal richness immeasurable in dollars, as moments of friendship were forged anew. There was a palpable joy, a feeling that even rekindled friendships and sweet memories have value, and every little scoop represented hope blooming against adversity, lifting spirits higher than he'd ever imagined. As the day wound down, Daniel could hardly believe the success. Through hours of hard work and his commitment to showing kindness across the community, he'd grossed over $1,000, clearing more than a profit. With each piece that slipped from his hands into smiling faces, he felt his dreams solidifying kindness, then unexpected fortune layered atop the fabric of community and connection. With Mrs. Henderson beaming at him proudly and familiar faces, chatting beneath the early evening stars, he looked around, feeling expansive hope radiating throughout the warmth of the season. Daniel realized in that moment that the ripples of kindness had only just begun, a shimmering tapestry of lives intertwining, all because he had cared enough to scoop up the moment and transform it into something magical. And deep down, amidst the whirl of unfinished dreams and the promise of tomorrow, he understood that this was just the start of a journey steeped in heart, the kind that speaks softly and echoes loudly, reshaping everything around it, a commitment to kindness that would undoubtedly clear the path for brighter days ahead. As spring unfurled its joyful tapestry across Maplewood, the echoes of laughter from Daniel's Dream Creamery lingered in the air, mingling with the fragrant aroma of blooming flowers. With each passing day, the little stand became more than just a place to buy ice cream. It transformed into a hub of warmth, connection, and community. The smiles of eager children, couples on spring walks, and familiar neighbors created an atmosphere that felt almost magical, one Daniel had never expected to see bloom from the frozen wasteland of winter. With the initial success of his ice cream venture, Daniel began to dream bigger. Every sale brought not just the thrill of earning, but a deeper understanding of the impact of kindness within his neighborhood. He converted his profits into better ingredients and supplies, experimenting with flavors inspired by stories woven through the very fabric of Maplewood. He even made an orange sorbet, much like the one Mrs. Henderson used to serve during summer afternoons, which rapidly became a neighborhood favorite. His weekends now spiraled into joyful chaos as he organized community gatherings at the Little Stand ice cream socials, backyard movie nights, and book readings from a local library began to take root in the hearts of his neighbors. With every event, it seemed the entire town rallied together, drawing strength from one another, reveling in moments spent together, marking the days with laughter, connection, and a sense of belonging. What started as a simple act of kindness shoveling a sidewalk had blossomed into a living legacy of community spirit. One sunny afternoon, while Daniel scooped cones and shared stories from the day, he noticed a familiar silhouette approaching. It was Mr. Jenkins from the ice cream shop, his face breaking into a wide grin as he arrived. "Hey there, Daniel. Mind if I drop by for a treat?" His jovial voice sliced through the warm spring air. "Of course. You earned it, Mr. Jenkins." Daniel's heart soared at the sight of the man who had first inspired him to dream big, who had once built his own business with nothing but determination. As they chatted gleefully, it became clear to Daniel just how far he had come. Mr. Jenkins had come to check in on him and discuss the possibility of a partnership. He recognized Daniel's efforts to uplift the community, and his heart gleamed with pride. "How about a collaborative event next month?" Mr. Jenkins proposed. "Let's host an ice cream festival. I can bring some equipment. We could offer your flavors alongside my classics." Daniel's eyes widened, his mind racing with burgeoning ideas. This was a chance to showcase his passion and bring even more people together. "That sounds incredible. We could have games, live music, and perhaps some homemade treats," Mr. Jenkins added, his excitement infectious. "We could use the local talent. It's all about community." The seeds for the event began to take root immediately, with Daniel drafting flyers and spreading the word across Maplewood. His heart raced as they worked alongside one another. Mr. Jenkins brought his decades of experience, while Daniel provided youthful exuberance and innovative flair. They connected over shared aspirations, understanding that the festival could plant further seeds of kindness and cooperation in the community. The day of the festival arrived, each moment layered with anticipation. A vibrant market sprang up right outside the Dream Creamery, sparkling with colorful stalls and fluttering banners. Music floated through the warm air, and laughter spilled from every corner. Families gathered with bright eyes, artists showcased their crafts, and people mingled, sharing stories as familiar faces formed a tapestry of unity. Daniel beamed as he, along with Mr. Jenkins and a host of volunteers, coordinated the festivities. He felt a sense of belonging wash over him, a reminder of how deeply the threads of kindness had weaved into his life. As the sun began its descent, casting hues of gold and lavender across the sky, a shimmering crowd gathered to witness the highlight of the evening, a toast to community and shared dreams. Daniel took to the makeshift stage, gripping the microphone, his heart thrumming like a drum. "Thank you, everyone. This festival wouldn't be possible without each of you. And it all started with a little act of kindness," he said, his voice steady, yet trembling with emotion. "Mrs. Henderson taught me the importance of what it truly means to give. And look at us now. We're standing here together, creating connections that will last a lifetime." The crowd erupted in cheers, the warmth of shared joy radiating through the air. As Daniel scanned the sea of smiling faces, his gaze landed on Mrs. Henderson, standing front and center, her pride palpable. She lifted a small sign, grinning with unapologetic joy. "That red kindness is the sweetest gift of all." In that moment, the weight of his journey crystallized. Each decision, every scoop, came rushing back in a kaleidoscope of gratitude and hope. The ice cream venture, the drives to help Mrs. Henderson, the bond formed over shared challenges and laughter. Each chapter had woven him more tightly into the fabric of his community. That night, as the festival came to a close, Daniel received a visit from his mother, her eyes glistening with tears of pride. She wrapped her arms around him in a warm embrace. "I can't believe this, Daniel. You've truly transformed this community. I mean, look at it." He chuckled, savoring the moment. "It's not just me, Mom. We're all part of this. It all flows back from helping others. The next day, as he tended to the dream he had birthed, flipping through customer feedback and brainstorming ways to improve, he received an unexpected phone call from a local news station. They had heard about the success of his business and wanted to feature him in their upcoming segment, showcasing the heart behind his venture. The news sent a tidal wave of excitement crashing over him. His journey was being recognized. He could picture it now, warm stories of community spreading beyond the borders of Maplewood, igniting others to embrace kindness in their own homes, neighborhoods, and towns. It was the ripple effect he had once hoped for, blossoming into the world, waiting to envelop new hearts. In the following weeks, the feature aired and Daniel became a local sensation, not for the money or the fame, but for the kindness that had sparked it all. People from neighboring towns visited the stand, drawn by the touching story behind their scoops. His earnings expanded alongside the joy his ice cream brought, allowing him to hire friends to help him during busy weekends and finally easing his family's financial burdens. It was exactly as Mrs. Henderson had told him, your kindness will come back to you one day. Every scoop of ice cream served became a moment shared, a connection made. It was sweeter than the flavors he crafted. Each response from customers revitalized him, their filled smiles and joyous accounts of how a single treat brightened their day solidified his